All right, welcome to the newest episode of the New Year Six podcast. Had a wonderful week zero, probably one of the best we've had in many years at this point. So after everything that went on that week, we're going to give a little recap to that, give some highlights, lowlights, everything along those lines, and then get us ready for week one, where everyone is playing. Your favorite team will be playing college football this week. For this Monday night. So some of you are playing in 72 hours. Others got to wait till you have your Boston College. You got to wait the longest. You got to wait till Labor Day. But we are here. We are back. And we had our first taste of it this weekend. So I'm just going to go through conference by conference, recap those games, give an offensive and defensive player of the week for these conferences. It's going to be a trend that I set up moving forward. I'll go through them all. I'm not going to do it this week, but starting next week, I will have a top 25 ranking, and then maybe we'll see. I may have a Heisman ranking as well. We'll see. We'll find out, but we'll take it from there. So, with that, we're going to start with the ACC, kind of the power conference of the weekend, so to speak. Big story of the day was Georgia Tech shocking a top 10 Florida State team over in Ireland. 12 o'clock game. Everyone was watching it. Everyone was there. And, first off, hats off to Georgia Tech. Before I start, teasing, before I start getting into it, hats off to Georgia Tech. They came prepared. They were well coached. They were disciplined. They were focused. But good God, Florida State. Yeah, now you know why you didn't make the playoffs last year. Now you know why you weren't worth it, all right? Because the same team that lost by 60 to Georgia showed up in week zero and lost to Georgia Tech. I believe, you've now been outscored by 63 points by the state of Georgia in your last two games? Good God, man, you got to get it together. So, FSU, not where they need to be. Georgia Tech, already exceeding my expectation. I did not have them winning this game in my preview. I didn't have them winning this game in my conference preview all the way back. Georgia State has a tough road ahead of them, but this was a big win early in the season, and it could set up Georgia Tech for a very promising rest of the year. We'll see what FSU looks like in week one. We'll see what Georgia Tech looks like in week one, and we'll see what both look like, with the road ahead. Other side of the conference, SMU struggled in their victory against Nevada, and SMU was like a 26-point favorite, anywhere from 24 to 27, depending on where you looked. They won by 5, and they looked ugly doing it. I have SMU as a borderline top 25 team, probably in that top 25 heading into week zero. They did not look like it. That's a Nevada team that won 2 games last year in Mountain West. Again, credit to Nevada for showing up prepared. Credit to Nevada for making that game work. SMU required a lot of effort towards the end. They were just a deeper team, but they shouldn't have needed that in week zero. It's not a promising outlook for the rest of the season. And honestly speaking, they played really chippy. SMU Nevada was a scrappy game that is not a rivalry. So I don't know what was going on with those two, but you got guys getting injected for spitting. Again, just a hard-nosed week zero, fun to watch, but SMU is not in the position that, they think they want to be. Florida State obviously not in the position that they want to be. Only one in this conference that should be happy with themselves is Georgia Tech. The rest of them, they got to go back to the drawing board, especially with what lies ahead. I don't recall who SMU has this upcoming week. You may see it in a couple of slides. If Florida State goes back home for Boston College, can they rebound? We will see. But with that, we'll go with our ACC Offensive Player of the Week first. Just to clarify how I do these moving forward, number one, you have to win your game. Right? There are no moral victories on the New Year's Six podcast. Right? You have to win your game if you want to be a Player of the Week. I don't care if you throw for 500 yards. If you need to throw for 501 to win, you get put on the bench. The other is that we take into consideration the quality of opponent that you play. If SMU had won 50-0, let's say, I would look at that and say, congratulations, but you beat up on a group of 5 school. I take into consideration a win over a Power 4 school. I take into consideration that group of high level upset over Power 4 school more heavily. If you're beating it up on an FCS school, I just throw that out the window completely. That doesn't take that much effort. So quality of opponent and a victory, those are those criteria for picking your players picking our players of the week. So with that in the ACC, we're going to lean on Georgia Tech for this one. We're going Jamal Haynes. There's supposed to be a video that comes with that. I guess it's not popping up here. So Jamal Haynes, 75 yards rushing, and then 2 touchdowns on the day. Oh, there we go. The video's coming. There it is. So we'll get to that in a second. But 75 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns on the ground, had 2 catches for 16 yards. Really was the Georgia Tech offense in week 0. Really was the guy that they leaned on the most. They were not able to establish much of an aerial threat against Florida State, and it was just, Georgia Tech, their run game and their O-line against Florida State's D-line, and Georgia Tech won that battle play after play. So what we've got here is the second touchdown of the day. This is the one that put Georgia Tech ahead in the early 4th quarter. So let's just take a look at what that looked like if we can. Computer's running a bit slow. There we go. All right. So first and goal, just makes the right read, cuts through, touched at the end, but got it done. Both of his touchdowns were just kind of pounded it in. Had a couple of nice breakout runs during the course of the game, but Jamal Haynes was the Georgia Tech offense. No doubt about it. With you take him out of the equation, I don't think Georgia Tech wins. Not because Florida State did anything to deserve a win, but because Jamal Haynes was that X factor for Georgia Tech this game. So gotta give him credit, gotta give him where it's due. Jamal Haynes is going to be the ACC Offensive Player of the Week for week 0. And now we'll head to the defensive side of the ball. And we'll stick with Georgia Tech, right? Amari Harvey, cornerback, 7 tackle performance. 1 was a tackle for loss. That tackle for loss was that 4th, 3 or 4th and 6 early in the game, in the first quarter, where Harvey comes down on I think it's a screen pass or an out route, something like that. And Harvey just comes down and hammers that defender. Ball goes back to Georgia Tech now instead of Florida State getting a first down. That turns the tide early in a game. So I got to give it to Amari Harvey for making that happen. Those 5 solo tackles helped out a lot. That tackle for loss. There weren't a lot of huge plays on Georgia Tech's defense this past week, but having that big one early kind of sets the tone. There weren't any turnovers. I don't think there was any forced, at least not on Georgia Tech's side. I think they lost I think they fumbled on offense, but they didn't force anything on defense. So it's just a hard-nosed, hand in the dirt style game for Georgia Tech, and Amari Harvey's a big reason why they won on that side as well. So got to give credit to Harvey and Jamal Haynes, the reasons why Georgia Tech was able to get that upset out in Ireland. Jackets, you did it. You wrecked them, Tech. So give them credit for what they do, and Florida State's got to figure it out, man. It's not getting any easier from here. So get back to the drawing board, or old Billy Boy and his team are going to come for you when what is it, week 14, right at the end of the season. I don't know if they don't turn it around. It's not as much of a difficult game on the road. So with that, I'll go over to the Mountain West, the only other conference playing this weekend. So they had 3 games. Montana State went over to New Mexico, took care of business. New Mexico was in it for a long time. This was a choke job by New Mexico. I got to be honest with you here. I think they were up by 21 heading into the 4th, and Montana State roared back, and that's an FCS school team, FCS team as well. So inexcusable. New Mexico. Now, to give them credit, they were about a 13-point underdog at home against an FCS school. But when you're up 21 in the 4th quarter, you cannot lose that game. That's unacceptable. So New Mexico's got to figure it out, man. I don't know. I don't anticipate watching a whole lot more New Mexico games, over the course of my time, over the course of the season. But if they want to save something that has a semblance of the season, they got to figure out how to hold on to the ball late. And then SMU went to Nevada, took care of business there. Again, we covered that one. And then Hawaii defended their home turf against FCS level Delaware State. Now, as a reminder, Hawaii was about a 40-point favorite over Delaware State. So, and I'm going to be transparent with you all. This was on pay-per-view, and I fell asleep before I could find it for free. So I did not watch this one. I'll go back and study some tape. But, Hawaii only winning by 21 at home when they should have won for a lot bigger, may be a sign for concern, moving forward. So, again, you have to win. And Hawaii's the only team that won this week. So your players in the game are going to be both on Hawaii. Make it pretty easy for you, right? So offensive side of the ball, go with Braden Shager, your quarterback there. So had 203 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, 38 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns there. So, my understanding, that's 4 touchdowns. That would be 28 points. They won, let's go back one, 35-14. So kind of put the team on his back. Without him, he's that X factor. So got to give credit for Shaker, especially on the ground. 2 touchdowns on his own goes a very, very long way. But Shaker's that offense player of the week for Hawaii. Was that field general that they need. 200 yards passing is nice. I don't care who you're playing against. That's a good day at the office. So give it to Shager, who took Hawaii through with their game and did what they needed to do at home. Defensive side of the ball, go with I'm going to say it's Jamie Otis. I don't think it's Jimmy. I'll say Jamie Otis, your linebacker. 11 tackle performance, 8 solo. That is not a picture from the most current team. I believe that is last year when they're in Oregon. Just looking at the background there. But was the guy for them on the defensive side of the ball. Picked up a sack, 2.5 tackles for loss. So just consistently present for Hawaii. Especially in the backfield. So it gets played a little bit more up, got more of that pressure. So Otis is going to be your player of the week for Hawaii. Again, as they handled business, did what they needed to do at home. Not a super impressive win, but a win is a win. You got out of it, and now you get UCLA coming up in about 5 or 6 days. They had 5 days. Yeah, we're on Monday night. So with that, we're going to get into some week 1 predictions, week 1 previews. Now, some of these games I have scores for. I have written out what I think the actual game is going to end at. Some of them I don't. It really comes down to what games I'm going to be watching this upcoming week. And then there are some that do not have any prediction because they're going to get their own video in I'll probably record all of them tomorrow, send them out through the course of the week. But I'll be giving the top 5 games of the week their own preview videos, so you're not going to find out that information today. So let's head into week 1 and see what we've got cooking. So week 1, these are the weekday games. These are your Thursday, Friday games, right? So I'm gonna watch all of these. There's no competition in week 1. I'm gonna give them all a fair shake. Another thing, I only do FBS versus FBS predictions. I would assume an FBS team is going to beat an FCS team. That is obviously not always the case, but I will only be covering games between 2 FBS schools because those are the teams I know how to evaluate. So week 1, Thursday night, we have 2 FBS matchups. We have a Power 4 matchup where North Carolina goes into Minnesota. I'm going to take North Carolina to win this one. I think it's a close one. I got 28-27, but I think North Carolina handles business. They're going to the line has shifted a little bit. Minnesota's been the favorite for a while, and now it looks like it's going to be pro North Carolina by like 1.5. It's roughly what I have them at. So I think it's going to be a scrappy game. Both teams breaking in new quarterbacks. Minnesota has Max Brosmer coming in from New Hampshire. That's an interesting one to see if he can adjust to the FBS level. North Carolina with Max Johnson. How does he adjust coming from Texas A&M? Time will tell. But it's a team with a lot of question marks on North Carolina, a team with a lot of question marks in Minnesota. One of them is going to come away 1-0. I think it's going to be North Carolina. Then Jacksonville State hosts Coastal Carolina. I think Jacksonville State takes this one in another close one. This to me is going to come down to the home team. I have these teams at roughly the same level, hence the 3-point spread. But I think Jacksonville State being home is going to tip the scales in their favor. Coastal Carolina doesn't have their star quarterback anymore. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board and see what they're doing over the course of this season. But I'll take J-State at home. Temple goes to Oklahoma. Temple, I'm going to be honest with you, is going to be one of the worst teams in college football this year. Oklahoma defends home turf easily. I got Oklahoma 49. These are all run through a computer. I'm going to level with you how I pick these scores. So if it's 49-10 instead of 41 or 49-11, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm going to say 49, Temple 11. You can say 10, and not the end of the world here. But Oklahoma takes care of business easily week one. I mean, if we look at Oklahoma last year, where they won their first like 2 or 3 games in huge, but they beat like Arkansas State like 77-0. It's not going to be that bad, but it's going to be bad. So I'll take Oklahoma in a blowout. Michigan State host Florida Atlantic. These are all the Friday night games. I think Florida Atlantic gives Michigan State a little bit more of a fight than anything else going on that night. I don't know what this Michigan State team is going to look like. First game head coach for Jonathan Smith. And honestly, I like FAU. I don't like them to win, but I think in the group of 5, they're one of the sneaky teams. I have them as one of my sleepers for the year. So I think they're going to give Michigan State a game. I think they're going to make this one a competitive one. I do think Michigan State's more talented, and that home field advantage puts them ahead. But where I'm at right now, I'll take Sparty by a touchdown, 27-20. Same conference, Wisconsin hosts Michigan State. This one I have a little bit more in Wisconsin's favor. I think Wisconsin's a better team overall than Michigan State. There's a lot more proof there. Western Michigan I don't have as high as Florida Atlantic as well. So I think Wisconsin comes out. They win pretty heavily. I'll take 34-15. Call that 34-14 if you want to. I'm fine with it. But a Wisconsin victory, I think that's actually has Western Michigan covering, if I'm not mistaken, but still not going to be enough to take it on the Wisconsin team. They're gearing up for some good things early in the season. I'm not high on them long term, but I think early in the season, Wisconsin's going to be fun. And then TCU goes out to Stanford in another Power 4 out-of-conference matchup. Stanford struggled last year. I don't think they're there yet, but they're going to be more competitive this year than they have in the past. I don't like moral victories. No one else does, but I'll take TCU in a close one, 31-28 on the road. Those week 1 jitters may get TCU going, but I have some high hopes for TCU the rest of the season, and you just got to get out of this one with a win. So I'll take TCU in a close one on the road, 31-28. Again, Stanford just not at that level yet. Could get there by the end of the season, but I just don't think it's going to be there at this current time. I like TCU to take it home. So now we'll head over to the Saturday games. We'll start in the noon time slot. So a lot of good ones on this front here. Clemson and Georgia play each other. That is going to get its own video. I cannot give you my secrets to one of the best games of the week this early. No. You gotta come back for another one. Same with Penn State, West Virginia. We'll give that one its own video. There's a lot to break down. There's a lot of good things on both sides. Clemson, Georgia, historic Southern rivalry. I hate that it's going to be in Atlanta instead of in Athens or in Clemson, but you've got to do what you can do. The last time they played neutral site, I think it was in Charlotte. I don't like neutral sites for historical rivalries, but I would rather that than they not play. So got to take them when you can. Penn State, West Virginia was a flip-flop last year. West Virginia went to Penn State. This time, Penn State returns the favor, goes out to West Virginia. Going to be a fun one. Going to be a competitive matchup. We have UConn going to Maryland. I'm high on Maryland this year, but I think they stumble out of the gate. I'm going to take them to win, but I think maybe UConn catches them napping early in the season. It's hard to figure out what these teams are going to look like. The analytics favor one team over the other. And again, it's hard to see what these teams look like without seeing their level of play. Spring practice, fall practice, those only go so far. I'll take Maryland 31-20, one closer than they would like, but still good enough to get them out of it. Virginia Tech goes on the road to Vanderbilt, and I like Virginia Tech a lot over the course of this year, but I think this one ends up being closer than you think. Call it 28-27 if you want to, but I've got or 30-27 or 20, however you want to frame it. But Virginia Tech in a close one on the road. If this was at home, I'd open up the score a little bit. I'd probably do a 5, 6, 7 point game, but I think it ends up being closer than what you end up just by virtue of that home game for Vanderbilt, not having to travel. What can Virginia Tech do in the road? I know Vanderbilt is not a hostile environment, but it's not a friendly environment for you either. So I'm going to see what this Virginia Tech team is made of. Should be a good Power 4 matchup for Virginia Tech. I don't think Vanderbilt is as bad this year. I think they're just in the hardest conference you got there. So I'll take Virginia Tech to win this one, but it's not going to be by much. And then I'll take Pitt to win over Kent State. I don't have a prediction for that. I watch 4 games at any given time, so I'll take Kent State or Pitt over Kent State. So with that, I'll go to the afternoon games. So I've just broken up into a couple of slides because there's so many. Kennesaw State, their first game is an FBS school. They go over to UTSA. UTSA is one of the best schools or one of the best programs in the Group of 5. One of the favorites to win the American. I'll take UTSA to win this one. Akron goes over to Ohio State. Again, blowout in the making. Not going to be close. Ohio State has national championship expectations. Akron wants to just not finish last in the MAC. Ohio State wins this one big. Colorado State goes over to Texas. I have Texas 44, Colorado State 10. Say 45-10 if you want. But Texas will take care of business at home. Not going to be particularly close. I will have this one on in some capacity, whether phone, another screen, something like that. But Texas will blow them out. Not going to be a problem. Eastern Michigan goes to UMass. I'm taking UMass. I don't know what the spread is on this one. Again, I don't look for games I'm not doing score predictions for, but this could be a quote unquote. It might be listed as an early upset. I'm not 100% sure, but UMass at home coming out the gate with a win, not something you necessarily expect, given that UMass is not one of the better programs in the country, and gonna have a lot to say for Eastern Michigan if they come out of this one with a goose egg. So I'll take UMass at home. That's the difference maker for me. And then I don't know what that means for Eastern Michigan for the rest of the year. Probably an uphill battle. Indiana first. Home game with their new head coach. I think they take care of business against FIU. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. And then Miami, Ohio goes to Northwestern. Northwestern without a football field this year. I think they're playing like a practice field for this year across soccer stadium, something like that. Not going to be a good environment, but I will take Northwestern at home by 2 scores. Call that 28-14 if you want to. I got 29-15. Either way, Northwestern handles business at home in pretty convincing fashion. I believe that clears the spread. I think they're like a 3-point favorite at home. I got them at 14. So maybe even if it's like a 6 or 10, I still got more than enough for that one. So I'll take Northwestern clearing it at home there. Then we go to the afternoon. Ohio goes over to Syracuse. I think Ohio's an above average Group of 5 team, but first-year head coach, Fran Brown over there at Syracuse starts his tenure off with a win, as maybe they build something respectable in the ACC this year, but they got to start off with a win at home. And I think that's exactly what happens with you. So Miami plays Florida. I am giving that one its own preview video. Of course. I mean, come on, man. You knew this one was getting a preview video. Knew that was happening. So Florida at home against in-state rival Miami. 2 teams enter, 1 team wins. Whoever wins is going to have laughing rights over the state, basically, because FSU's own 1. whoever wins this, and then UCF plays New Hampshire, so they, that's nothing to write home about. So whoever's winning this game is the king of the state for the time being. And, I'm just hoping it's my Gators. We'll see what it ends up looking like. UTEP on the road at Nebraska. I'll take Nebraska by 18. So Nebraska 30, UTEP 12. The Dylan Raiola era of Nebraska is beginning, and I think it begins with a statement win early in the year. I don't think they'll have any problem with UTEP. Boise State going in on the road down to Georgia Southern. I got, if you watch my previous videos, I got Boise State as a playoff team, and I think they win a close one on the road, 33-25. Again, if you want to play around and make that 34-24, so be it, but I think Boise State handles business on the road, and again, getting ready for what lines up. They got Oregon coming up in a couple of weeks. That's one to watch for. As long as they don't trip early out of the gate, they should be on their way to a Mountain West championship in a playoff game. Old Dominion goes over to South Carolina. I'll take South Carolina 35-16, call it 35-17. I think Old Dominion puts up a little bit more of a fight than South Carolina may expect. But South Carolina's got some players to break in. Lenore Sellers being the big one at quarterback. So, if they can get the offense churning, which 35 points probably will, going to be a matter of can the defense stay strong, and can South Carolina outcoach Old Dominion? They very likely should be able to. They shouldn't be that much of an issue. But I'll take South Carolina to win that one. Big enough, not as big as you would want as a South Carolina fan, but big enough to get the job done. And then South Alabama home against North Texas. Take USA over UNT. So again, just a group of 5 matchup there. North Texas is American. South Alabama is Sun Belt. I'll take the Sun Belt in this one. But I think both teams should be due for a reasonable, respectable year. But South Alabama at home is going to help us, get it out the gate early on that one. So this now takes us to the night games. Yeah, we got the night games here. So Nevada heads to Troy after their week 0 loss. I think they are 0-2 after this week. Troy defends home turf. Not going to put that one on, but I'm sure Troy, being one of the better teams in the Sun Belt, will pick apart one of the weaker teams in Mountain West. So I'll take Troy, and should be fine there. Houston at home against UNLV. This is about a 3-point game from what I saw, but I like Houston to defend home turf. 32-26. You want to make that 31-27. Fine with that. But Houston's going to be rocking and rolling in week 1 at home, and UNLV is a solid Group of 5 program. Houston not one of the best in the Big 12 right now, but I think they should be able to get the job done at home. You got Rice taking on Sam Houston. I'm high on Rice for this year. I think this is the start of something special for Rice, and they start off at home with a win. Sam Houston's not going to have a great year in Conference USA, and I think this is the momentum that Rice needs early on in the year to get something going for the rest of their season. Alabama at home against Western Kentucky, the first game of the Kalen DeBoer era, and I think they come out with a bang, 45, call it 45-10. Again, this is all math, so 45-11. I think Alabama's going to try to run it up a little bit. Big shoes to fill after losing the greatest coach of all time, and I think they need to come out hot, or the country turns on. Fan base turns on. If they don't come out of this game winning by 30 points, at minute 35 would be preference, which is roughly what I have it at. If they don't cover and cover big, Alabama is going to have a vocal fan base. And no disrespect to Western Kentucky, they are one of the best teams in Conference USA. But Alabama's used to beating guys like that by 40, 50 points. And if they don't do it, they're going to start yelling. So, and then finally, on this session, Notre Dame goes down to Texas A&M. That is going to get its own preview video. That is where game day is headed. This is my game of the week. This is the biggest one that you're going to see, at least in week 1. And I'm gonna give it its own breakdown later in the week, so stay tuned for that. Can't give you the easy ones can't give you the big ones this easy. So with that, we'll keep going down to night games. So Fresno State heads to Michigan. I think they give Michigan more of a challenge than some of these other beat up games. I do have Michigan winning by at least a few scores. So Michigan 33, Fresno State 17, so call it 34-17. But I think it's a better challenge in week one than a lot of Michigan's peers are going to have. It's better than what Ohio State's going to get. It's better than what Texas is going to get. It's better than what Oregon is going to get. It's better than what maybe not Alabama. Definitely not Penn State. But you see the point. Fresno State being an upper tier group of five school is going to test Michigan early. And it's a good barometer for them heading into their game against Texas. So we're going to get a glimpse of both those teams this week and see what they really are. Michigan may need to use the starters later in this game. Let's see what that looks like in week two. Texas may ride in week one and not be battle ready for week two. There's pros and cons to this, but I'll take Michigan 33-17 and just getting good enough to get to where you need to go in week two. UCLA heads out to Hawaii, who won their week zero game. I don't think they leave that game with a win, so I'll take UCLA over Hawaii, knocking them down to 1-1. I think Hawaii is supposed to make some progress this year. We didn't see it in week zero. Going to be hard to do it against UCLA. Southern Miss heads to Kentucky for an SEC network game. I'll take Kentucky to win. I got them at 37-20. Call it 38-20 if you want, but not going to be particularly close. Kentucky also breaking in a new quarterback. Lost some starters on defense. So lost some guys on offense as well, but I still think they'll be okay against Southern Miss. I don't think it's going to be particularly difficult. Now you got James Madison heads to Charlotte. Now James Madison is one of the top teams in the Sun Belt. They are my preseason pick to win the Sun Belt, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta go back. But they're in the conference championship at minimum. So James Madison heads to Charlotte. That does sway it a little bit more in Charlotte's favor than they would probably like. But James Madison is too high power. I know they've got a lot of turnover with the new head coach, basically new roster from top to bottom, but I still think they got enough to take down Charlotte. One of the, he's one of the worst teams in the AAC in the power and the group of five as a whole. So I like James Madison. I'll take it a little bit closer. I'll take it 30-20. So say 31-20 if you want a football score. And then finally, we'll go Georgia State heads to Georgia Tech. So they head across town. They're both in Atlanta. But I will take Georgia State 19, Georgia Tech 33. Georgia Tech now 2-0, winning by 14 instead of by 3. So Georgia Tech building on that momentum from last week. I don't think Georgia State is going to lay over and die. Georgia Tech, to clarify, Georgia Tech did not look unbeatable in week 0. They just looked competent enough to get from week to week. They're not, but they're not giants. I don't think anyone expects that. But if they come out here with the statement win, there's an argument to be made. If they come out and blow Georgia State away, maybe they're a borderline top 25 team out of week 1. Who knows? But a 14-point win is not going to put them in that range. I'm sure a blowout win is going to put it in people's minds that maybe it's time. So I'll take Georgia Tech 33, Georgia State 19. Crosstown matchup where neither team is traveling far regardless of where you're coming from. And now we're going to go to the late night games as well as the Labor Day games. So this is the only weekend of the year where you're going to see games on Sunday and see games on Monday because there's no NFL on those days at this point. So we're looking at the late night games. New Mexico heads to Arizona. Arizona's got a lot of hype around them this year. I'm not super high on Arizona. I think there's tough times ahead. This is not one of those tough times. This is a New Mexico team that just lost to an FCS school, and I don't think this one's going to be close. We got Arizona 41, Mexico 18, call it 17 if you want to get a nice round football number. But Arizona's going to roll in this one. It's not, yeah. This is not the upset of the week. Now, further in the state, Arizona State hosts Wyoming. Wyoming is a better team than New Mexico. Arizona State is a worse team than Arizona. So this is a closer matchup, but I will have Arizona State winning at home. Got 29-20, 28-20 if you want a nice football score, but about a 1-2 score game for Arizona State. They got some pieces they're working on there. In the process of building, it's just going to take a little bit more time. But a blowout here could mean that Arizona State's further along with their rebuild than we anticipate. So then you got LSU versus USC in Vegas on Sunday, September 1st. And with that, that's going to get its own video down the line. No big deal, no worries. So come back for that later. Going to be one of the top matchups. Good time on Sunday night, and then on Monday night on Labor Day, Boston College heads down to Tallahassee, where Florida State is looking for a rebound from their disaster in Dublin. I do think they get the win. I'll take Florida State 32, Boston College 18. If you want to do 31-17 to make it a football score, I'm all right with that. But I think Florida State rebounds at home, and Boston College is supposed to be in their early rebuild with Bill O'Brien, but tough week one matchup for first game head coach. So I'll take Florida State at home, defend home turf. Now, if this was up in Boston like it was last year, like technically Chestnut Hill, it's a different story. It's probably like a one-score game like it was last time, but I'll take Florida State at home by about 14. So that concludes this week's episode of the New Year's Six podcast. Just a wrap up of everything that happened in week 0, and getting us ready for week 1. So tune in next time as we do the 5 preview videos over the course of this week. So that is Georgia, Clemson, Penn State, West Virginia, Miami at Florida, Notre Dame at Texas A&M, and then LSU, USC. So, but other than that, what are your thoughts on what happened in week 0? What are your predictions for week 1? Where am I right? Where am I wrong? Comment down below, like, subscribe, everything like that. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for experiencing week 0 with us. Definitely had a good time with seeing Florida State lose, but mainly seeing college football back on our screen. So thanks for everything. Like, comment, subscribe, and tune in next time for those preview videos.